Good evening, good evening. I definitely wanted to stop by today to continue the conversation on purpose because we can't forget it, we can't leave it behind, we can't be moving forward and just doing things just to do it, right? It needs to be purposeful, everything that we do, everything that we're about. So let's talk about purpose. While I finish off this work day, we definitely want to keep our purpose at the forefront as we move through our lives, as we make our plans. So we are talking about purpose, but not just purpose in general, but how are we perfecting our purpose? And why is it even important? Because, hey, I have a job or I have some plans. I want to do this, I want to do that. But there's something so different when you're just doing things because it's a good idea or because it's a trend, or I know that this thing makes money or this thing puts me in rooms. There's something very different when it's about your purpose versus just another fad, another thing that you do. But before we can even perfect something, don't we have to have it? Don't we have to recognize it? And that's what it is. So if we're going to perfect our purpose, we first have to identify our purpose. And how do we identify our purpose? That's really the big question, and that's the important question. What is my purpose? How do I recognize it? How do I define it and then move forward in it? Listen, the first thing that I always try to remind people during our conversations, when you are talking about purpose, you cannot define yourself. You cannot define your purpose based on your circumstances. There's no way. No one would be able to achieve anything if they were just focused on the fact that I'm in this situation right now. My circumstances don't look like my future. It doesn't look like what I feel on purpose to do. That's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing. There is even individuals who believe that they don't have a purpose anymore because of circumstances or things that they did. I say that's the exact opposite. You actually can define, when you go through your circumstances and you do things that you regret, you do things that you feel bad about and you beat yourself up about, that's not negating you from your purpose. It's actually preparing you. You've been tested. When they say tried and true, you've been tried and you're still here. You've been tried and you've gone through tribulation, or you're just confused, or you may not have had direction. That doesn't mean you don't have purpose. That just means that there are the steps that we need to take to identify what our purpose is. Because listen, I've said it once and I'll continue to say it. The reason why you have to identify your purpose is because those of us that are out here, we need you. There are people that are assigned to you. So just knowing that you have a purpose is not enough. Just repeating the fact that, oh yeah, I know that I'm supposed to do this, that's not enough. You actually have to take the time to recognize that the circumstances I've gone through, who I was born, the family I was born into, what I've learned along the way, none of that is a coincidence. None of that are things that you should just leave on the wayside while you continue on with life. No, you have to put together everything. All of your experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, okay? And the questionable. You need to recognize that you're not just on this earth doing things just to do things. You are here. You were put in this time to be alive right now for a reason. And when you recognize that, okay, no, I'm not just living to live. My parents didn't have me by mistake, because that's not a thing either. You're not here by mistake. And for those of you that are on, share this live, invite more people to come on, because purpose is something that we all should be talking about. We should be pursuing and fulfilling on a daily basis. Okay? So when we identify, so we're putting things together, like for me, I always give my example. Knowing that I was very young when I knew that I wanted to be an attorney, but I was only this years old when, I could say over the past 2 or 3 years, God have been telling me clearly that the law is your profession, but it is not your purpose. It is a part. If we're going to talk about a puzzle, it is one of the puzzle pieces that was necessary in order for you to fulfill your ultimate goal. Because as a believer, and those of you that are believers on this live right now, you recognize that there are some things that happen in my life that I wouldn't have commissioned this. I wouldn't have done it this way. People that you meet, people that you're connected to, you would not have chose these people. But there is a reason. You take good where you can take it, and you learn lessons when bad things happen. The reason why a lot of times we go in circles and we don't identify our purpose is because of the bad decisions, right? Or things that we missed. You come back to that circumstance. You come back and kind of, why do I keep, going through the same thing? I have money now, a lot of money come in, and I keep losing it. It's not a punishment, but you need to understand how you are supposed to overcome this thing, because it is tied to your purpose in helping others to also overcome this thing. And when I say this thing, it's the thing that that I get everything else. But these two things, or this one thing, whether it's relationship, it's finance, it's your career, there are a lot of things that stump us because we are not putting together every experience that we have. I truly believe, and I have a lot of evidence to prove this, not like we're in a courtroom, but a lot of evidence to prove that you do not have the experiences you have for no reason. Okay? I mean, we can look at the prime example in the Bible, David. David, he's out there and he's the shepherd, he's with the sheep. Doesn't look good, right? You don't smell good because you're out here, you're always outside, you're with the sheep, you sleep with them, you're feeding them, you're doing all that stuff. You don't look like a king. But in order to fulfill his purpose as a king, he had to understand how to shepherd those that rely on him. He had to know how to be strong in battle, even when you've never done that fight before. So when he said that he had to fight the lions and bears and protect the sheep from those things, he didn't realize that he would have to fight nations to protect the nation that he was a king over. So the small things, they're not really small. They're your training ground in fulfilling your purpose. Okay? So even if we have that example, that's really showing us that, okay, it may not look the way it's supposed to. Moses. We can take Moses, for example. You will say, okay, Moses was actually a part of the Hebrews, and he was not supposed to be in Pharaoh's house, but he was raised in Pharaoh's house. Why? He had to be raised in Pharaoh's house because he was called to come and stand up against Pharaoh, meaning he knows the customs, he knows the language, he knows how they move. And if you're going to take someone down, I'm just saying, we all know, if I'm called to take someone down, that means that I need to know how you move. I need to know how this works. And he was put in that position for that reason, but he didn't lose his purpose because his heart was still connected to his people. That's why he ended up committing murder, right? In defending his people. Now, back to us, back to our purpose. For you, what does that look like for you? What circumstance, Where are you right now? What are the things that you're not making yourself think about this thing? You're not making yourself desire this thing. But everyone that see you, everyone that you communicate with or work with or talk to long enough, they keep pointing out this thing about you. Like, you are really called to speak into people's life. You hear that. You hear that, oh, you are supposed to be big, or you're going to travel the world, or you're such an amazing artist. You hear those things and you're looking at where you're at like, really? I don't see it. I guess. Are you trying to flatter me? No. Your purpose does not leave you. You just have to continue to live life, collect your experiences, be intentional about asking God. Any situation you're in, you can always ask God, why am I experiencing this right now? How is this tied to where you want me to be? How is this tied to how you want to use me in my life? If you are, and you all know that I do coaching as a Christian coach and attorney for those that are facing divorce. And those that are facing divorce, a lot of times what happens, especially for believers, is one, there's a stigma in the church. There's the embarrassment. So there's the shame. There's the fear of what comes next. And then there's this belief that God can no longer use me. And this is just not the truth. God can always use you. God, you're the one that's saying that. God never told you, because we're looking in the Bible. People who did right, they did wrong. It doesn't matter what happened. What God had on their lives did not leave them. You can turn away from God, but God is not turning away from you because you sinning or you doing something wrong. It's not a shock to him. Or he would have kept having to send Jesus back to die for us. But he's not surprised. He's not shocked. He's not taken for a whirlwind. No. He's very clear that these things may happen. We have to change our mind. So repentance is when we're changing our mind about this situation and to not go back to it, right? So if I now understand my purpose, how then do I perfect my purpose? Now that's a totally different thing, because I know, just like I always say, I'm called to be a bridge of love that's connecting you that are watching, that's connecting you to God. Because of life circumstances make you feel like, oh, God doesn't hear me anymore, or God is not going to respond to me anymore. No, God is saying it doesn't matter what happened to you, around you, what you did. Your purpose has not died. I'm still talking. You just don't hear me because your perspective has changed and you think that you're not good enough for me to use, which is not the truth. So I serve as a bridge of love to connect people back to their purpose in God, back to their God. So the bridge, I'm sturdy. I had to go through experiences to become sturdy enough for people to walk across from darkness to the light to fulfill their purpose. Now, how do we perfect that? We perfect that by believing and knowing. It doesn't matter what happens around me. I have to believe and know that I am called to serve others. I am called and used by God to make sure that people are not missing his message. People are not missing the opportunity to be a blessing to others so that we are all walking in the direction towards the kingdom of God, helping people along the way. How it looks for you will be different than how it looks for me. But perfecting our purpose means that we are not distracted by the circumstances. We are not distracted in believing that our purpose can no longer be fulfilled because of what hasn't happened yet, because of how things look right now, or because of maybe some things that people have said in our lives in the past. We cannot allow those things to distract us, because if we become distracted by circumstances, then you are going to have a reaction, and your reaction may end up pulling you away from your purpose rather than pulling you into it. So perfection means that there are going to be, while you are on this journey, while you are fulfilling your purpose, having life experiences, there are going to be people that treat you wrong. There are going to be people that lie on you, straight up lie. There are people that's going to love you, but love you for the wrong reasons. There are people that are going to overly use you to the point where you have burnout. Where a term that I learned, that where's my book? A term that I learned over the weekend. I was at my leadership retreat and I had to write this down. And Dr. Davis, if you guys, she has a tier, and this is no promo or anything. I don't get paid for this, but she has an awesome Facebook group, all positivity, only positive. And these were 3 terms that she said. You guys may have heard it. I did not hear this before. I did hear burnout before, but the 2 I did not hear was compassion fatigue and vicarious trauma. Listen, she started to explain compassion fatigue, and I started to tear up. I didn't even know why I was tearing up. But it's because when you're called to serve other people, even in my capacity as an attorney, so not even the counseling side of it, not even the coaching side of it, just when your job is to serve other people, or when you're naturally inclined, so not your job, naturally inclined to be the person where people can cast their burdens on you, you can have compassion fatigue. So understanding your purpose, you know that I have to be aware of these things. I cannot allow me serving others to drain me so much that I'm no longer useful for what God is calling me for. Compassion fatigue. She said that it is and this is not me, this is Dr. Rita Davis. And you can find her at ATIR. This is a tier company, the Facebook group, and she's on Facebook as well. Instagram, I'm not sure about TikTok, but she said compassion fatigue is the psychological cost of healing others. Taking on the suffering of others who have experienced extreme stress or trauma. We may feel like, yeah, but if that's what I'm supposed to do, I just gotta bear it. Well, if you become fatigued through giving compassion to other people, you no longer have the necessary energy and fervor to fulfill your purpose. So yes, there is service, there is compassion, but to perfect your purpose, you need to draw the line, and you need to know where the line starts, where the line ends. Are there times where you're going to be caught off guard? Yes, there are. But when we are perfecting our purpose, we are putting things in place to make sure that we are always vibrant and ready to, 1, heal thyself first. We are ready and available for those that God has called us to. Our families are first. Obviously, time with God, hearing from God on a daily, not just Sundays, not just when things are crazy or when you're fasting, but always. These are steps that we're taking to perfect our purpose. When you know that anxiety levels are high in certain circumstances and you're not seeking help to deal with that, to make sure that you're in full control of who you are, what you're connected to, that again is putting your purpose at jeopardy. I do not want us to do that. We need to be perfected in our purpose because we are called to serve. The way that you serve will look different for everyone, but you need to be able to serve. Can you serve? Are you even serving right now? Or are you having to just lie down? Are you having times where there's tears coming out because you just don't know what to do next? Or do you feel like what God is calling you to is so big, you don't have enough resources, so you're just having analysis paralysis, like I can't even move, I don't know what to do because there's just too much to do. Again, that's not perfecting your purpose. That's putting your purpose at jeopardy. You cannot have chaos connected to your purpose. So it's not a one-day thing. It's not a one-time thing. It is a process of one, identifying your purpose. God, this is what you've created me for. This is what I'm naturally drawn to. This is where you have allowed me to grow in without me even recognizing that this was my purpose. But now that I've identified it, because I've come to you first, God, you've identified it, and then me being intentional, I've continued to grow and explore what this purpose means. You then need to perfect it. You need to perfect it. You need to be able to understand that you are called. You are called for more. You are called to people who are waiting and they just don't know where you are. They can't find you. You can't find them because you are not working on perfecting your purpose. What about your divine helpers? You guys know I can't do it without my divine helpers. I got 2 more today. So I'm always, whenever we're on this live, I'm always talking about the divine helpers. And since I've acknowledged it, since I've been thanking God daily for it, he's continued sending them. And these 2 divine helpers were actually in my own household. I needed content creators because, I'm focused on what I'm doing. I'm focused on talking to you all about your purpose. I'm focused on taking people from broken, from toxic to triumph, making sure divorce does not break you, but that you understand that God is with you through it all and ready for you to step into your purpose even now. I am so big on planning for what is next versus staying in it and trying to figure out later. No, all those things. So I needed content creators so I don't just, do one thing. And they were in my household. So if you see my latest video that I posted, that was for my new content creator, my sons. And they are 10 and 11. And they are amazing. They're already setting up for tomorrow and next week. And it's a whole thing. But anyway, divine helpers are waiting. They are waiting to connect to you. But if we're not working on perfecting our purpose, if we're not even working on identifying our purpose, then how can your divine helper step in and help you fulfill it? Because if we just want to go back a little bit to David, just like I mentioned with David, he was moving through life. He didn't know what was going to come next, but he was a musician. And when the king needed comfort because he was being troubled, couldn't sleep in his spirit, all of that, he was being troubled, who did he call on? He called on David. David ended up being his divine helper, but you can even look the other way. The king is the one who gave him the okay to go up against Goliath, right? God put him in the right place at the right time. Not only did he give him that, but then he's the one that came into the kingdom. He came into the palace. He's just playing music for the king. But you see how you're getting closer and closer and closer to your purpose? Not neglecting it, not feeling like, well, it's not producing, it's not doing what it's supposed to do, so I'm not doing that anymore. No, do not get discouraged. Do not get discouraged. You that know that God has called you, you that know you're not just living life for yourself, do not get discouraged. We can perfect our purpose. I'm still perfecting mine. I've identified mine. I'm clear on mine, but I'm still perfecting it because one of the things that vicarious trauma, I didn't read that one, but Dr. Rita Davis also said vicarious trauma is secondary traumatic stress by indirect exposure to trauma via helping others. How do you really control that if you don't recognize it, if you don't know that it's there? So in this journey of perfecting our purpose, and it's a journey, we'll take steps, we'll say things that we can do each day to perfect our purpose, to identify our purpose, and to make sure that we are showing up for ourselves and we are showing up so that our divine helpers can connect to us and show up for us as well. So these are some things on perfecting our purpose. We're going to continue to do that every day. We are going to continue to define, and for those of us that don't know our purpose yet, continue to seek God for our purpose and come together to make sure that we're not neglecting it. We're not being shackled by shame. We're not being shackled by fear, but we are moving forward. If you have not heard about my book yet, it is Divorce Like a Boss, the ultimate tactical guide to ending a toxic marriage and fulfilling your purpose. So I didn't just start talking about purpose. I've been talking about purpose, okay? So for anyone that is facing divorce, anyone that's going through it, if you know a family member, a friend, it's not a hard read. I also have it in the audiobook version. It is on Audible. It's on Apple Books. You can buy it, purchase it on Amazon if you like to have that physical book in your hand. And this is where I am. This is where we are together. You are not seeing this by chance. You're supposed to see it. You're supposed to be here because you need to fulfill your purpose. Not only do you need to fulfill it, the way that you get there is by perfecting it.